I took the job at the morgue for the quiet. After years of working in bustling hospitals, the promise of solitude was a welcome change. I thought the dead would be easier to handle than the living. I was wrong. My first few weeks were uneventful, a routine of examining bodies and filling out paperwork, but one night, things took a sinister turn. It was a Tuesday, the middle of the night shift. A body arrived, a man in his mid-40s named Victor. His death was a mystery with no apparent cause. As I began the autopsy, I heard a faint, raspy whisper.
"Help me.
I jumped, nearly dropping my scalpel.
Help me, please."
Voice had come from Victor. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. How can I help you?" I asked.
"They buried it under the old oak tree."
Feeling ridiculous for talking to a corpse, I didn't know what to make of it. I finished the autopsy, noting that Victor had died of a rare heart condition. His file was closed, but his words lingered. Over the next few days, more bodies came in. Each one whispered their secrets to me. They told me of hidden treasures, lost loves, and unsolved murders. The morgue became a cacophony of voices, each one pleading to be heard. One night, a young girl named Emily was brought in. She had drowned, her body pulled from a river. As I prepared her for examination, her voice, soft and trembling, filled the room.
"It wasn't an accident. He held me under."
My blood ran cold. "Who?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper.
"Richard, my stepfather."
Her autopsy revealed bruises on her arms, consistent with being forcibly held. I reported my findings to the police, and Richard was arrested. Emily's story had been the key to unlocking the truth. But the voices didn't stop. Every night they grew louder, more insistent. I learned things no one should know, secrets that were meant to stay buried. The dead had found their confessor in me, and they would not be silenced. Then came the night I feared most. A body arrived, a woman in her early 30s named Laura. She had been found in a car, an apparent victim of carbon monoxide poisoning. As I began her autopsy, her voice echoed through the room.
"He's coming for you."
My hands trembled as I continued my work. "Who?" I asked.
"He doesn't want you to know."
I finished the autopsy, my mind racing. Laura's death was ruled a suicide, but her words haunted me.
"He'll do anything to keep it a secret."
I started noticing strange things. A car following me home, a shadowy figure outside my window. The dead had warned me, and now I was in danger. One night I found a note on my car windshield. "Stop listening." It was a warning, but I couldn't stop. The voices of the dead had become a part of me, their stories a burden I couldn't shake. I left the morgue that night, driving to the police station. I handed over my files, every whisper and every secret I had documented. The dead deserved justice, even if it cost me my life. As I walked out of the station, I felt a sense of calm for the first time in months. The voices had finally fallen silent, but the fear remained. I knew he was still out there, watching, waiting. When the world is quiet, I still hear their whispers, faint but persistent. The dead have found me again, and their stories are far from over. It was a quiet evening when the first body arrived. A young man named Michael, found lifeless in his apartment. The initial examination showed no signs of foul play. As I made the first incision, a chill swept over me, and I heard it. "She pushed me," a voice whispered, soft yet urgent. I froze, my heart pounding. The voice seemed to emanate from Michael's lifeless form. I looked around, half expecting someone to jump out and say it was a prank, but there was no one. The morgue was empty, save for me and the dead. "She pushed me," the voice repeated, desperate and insistent. I knew I should stop, that this was impossible, but curiosity got the better of me. "Who pushed you?" I asked aloud, my voice trembling. "Emily," Michael whispered. The autopsy revealed that Michael had a fractured skull, consistent with a fall from a height. His death was ruled accidental, but the whisper haunted me. I mentioned it to the police, who found evidence that his girlfriend, Emily, had been at his apartment the night he died. Under questioning, she confessed to pushing him during an argument. Michael's whisper had led to justice. The whispers continued with every new arrival. Each body had a story, a secret waiting to be told. Some spoke of accidents, others of foul play. The morgue became a place where the dead's final moments were laid bare, their voices seeking closure. One night, an elderly woman named Margaret was brought in. She had died in her sleep, a peaceful passing, or so it seemed. As I began the autopsy, her voice, frail and sorrowful, filled the room. "He took everything," she said. I paused, scalpel in hand. "Who took everything?" "My son," she whispered. "He made me sign it all over." I checked her file. Her son had been her sole caregiver and had inherited everything. I dug deeper, finding evidence that he had coerced her into changing her will. The authorities reopened her case, and her son was charged with elder abuse. Margaret's whisper had revealed the truth. The whispers grew louder with each passing day, their stories intertwining with my own. The dead became my constant companions, their voices a haunting symphony that I couldn't escape. I began to fear the arrival of each new body, dreading the secrets they would reveal. Then came the night that changed everything. A body arrived, badly decomposed, making identification difficult. As I prepared for the autopsy, a voice, guttural and filled with rage, pierced the silence. "They buried me alive," it growled. A shiver ran down my spine. "Who did?" "Harold," the voice snarled. "My business partner." The autopsy revealed dirt in the lungs, consistent with the claim. The police investigated, uncovering that Harold had indeed buried his partner alive to take over their business. The whisper had exposed a chilling crime. As the cases piled up, I felt the weight of the dead's secrets crushing me. Their whispers were relentless, their stories a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked in the hearts of the living. The morgue, once a place of solitude, had become a prison of spectral voices. One night, a body arrived without identification, a Jane Doe. Her death was a mystery, her body showing no signs of trauma. As I began the autopsy, her voice, soft and echoing, filled the room. "Run," she whispered. I froze. "What do you mean?" "He's coming for you," she warned. "Run." Panic set in. I finished the autopsy quickly, my hands shaking. As I left the morgue, I felt a presence, a shadow lurking just out of sight. Jane Doe's warning echoed in my mind. I knew I had to leave. It began with a dream, a replay of Jane Doe's warning. "He's coming for you," she had said. I woke up drenched in sweat, the fear as real as it had been that night in the morgue. I tried to brush it off as residual paranoia, but deep down, I knew better. Days turned into weeks, and I started noticing subtle signs that I wasn't alone. A car that seemed to appear wherever I went. A figure lurking at the edge of my vision, always disappearing when I tried to get a closer look. The sense of being hunted grew stronger, gnawing at my sanity. One evening I returned home to find a note slipped under my door. "Stop listening or you'll be next." My blood ran cold. The threat was clear, but so was the resolve it ignited in me. I couldn't let fear rule my life. I had to find out who was behind this and why they wanted me silenced. I began digging into the files I had taken with me from the morgue, looking for any connections between the victims who had whispered to me. Patterns started to emerge. Most had ties to a powerful figure in the city, a businessman named Harold, the same Harold who had buried his partner alive. Determined to uncover the truth, I contacted Detective Sarah Parker, one of the few allies I had made during my time at the morgue. I explained everything, from the whispers to the threats. Skeptical at first, She eventually agreed to help after I provided evidence linking Harold to multiple suspicious deaths. Together we delved deeper into Harold's past, uncovering a web of corruption, blackmail, and murder. Each revelation brought us closer to understanding the scope of his crimes, but it also put us in greater danger. Harold was a man with powerful connections and a ruthless streak. One night, as we were reviewing the latest evidence in Sarah's office, the power went out. The sudden darkness was suffocating. Then the whisper came, clear and urgent. "He's here," it said. I barely had time to react before the door burst open. Harold's henchmen flooded the room, their intentions clear. We fought, the room erupting into chaos. Sarah managed to call for backup before being overpowered. Just as I thought it was the end, police sirens wailed in the distance. The henchmen fled, but not before Harold himself appeared in the doorway, his eyes cold and menacing. "You should have stopped listening," he snarled, before disappearing into the night. The police arrived, arresting the remaining henchmen. Sarah and I were shaken but alive. With enough evidence now to take Harold down, we knew the fight wasn't over, but we had struck a significant blow against him. As Harold awaited trial, the whispers began to subside. The dead had found their justice, their stories no longer held in the shadows. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that Harold's reach was far from severed. He had followers, people loyal to him, and I knew they would come for me.